Hello and welcome to this episode of Read Play Game, where we look at tabletop role-playing games from every side of the table. I'm Label Enlo, and I'm going to be our rules lawyer and I'm a player today.
I'm Emma Skaggs, and I'm going to be playing today.
I'm Anish, and I'll be GMing today.
Woo!
I'm Tori, and I'll be playing today as well.
I'm Michael, and I will also be playing today.
For people tuning in for the first time, this is the first part of a three-part structure of this podcast, the read portion, where we won't just be reading. We'll be walking through character creation for an RPG that we've selected for this week, talking through the rules and mechanics as we go. Then this will be followed up by later episodes where we play through a one-shot with the characters that we've made and then reflect on the system. Feel free to listen to whichever of these interest you, and feel free to skip whichever ones don't. Today, we're going to be looking at Masks, which is an RPG designed by Brendan Conway at Magpie Games. This is a game that we selected because we wanted to follow up Single Unique Power with a one-shot in that system because we were so excited about the world and characters. We picked this system, which we've been looking at for a long time, because it's based on superhero media, specifically for Masks, teen superhero media, including stuff like a lot of comics and TV shows like Young Justice, Young Avengers, Teen Titans, Invincible, Miss Marvel, countless more things have influenced this, and it's very obvious in that. So there are specific worlds and flavors that sort of occupy this space and the influence of this that we may be taking a little bit of liberties with because we're using the setting that we created instead of a more modern setting that might be more applicable. If you listened to the last Single Unique Power episodes, I would highly recommend, if you didn't listen to the episodes, I would highly recommend going back just because they were A, so fun, and B, provide some context. But if you didn't, that's fine. We're probably going to be explaining whatever world info that we need to explain in this. But we did create a couple teen characters in that session, so we are going to be playing as those characters in that world, maybe meeting some of the characters that we also created. Notable differences between the theming of Single Unique Power and Masks, specifically, like Tyler said in our interview, Single Unique Power is a little bit more influenced by like anime and manga, with the one person, one power trope, which is also present in Western media, but it's much more common. Like you'll see it in so many different shows, specifically anime and stuff like that. But you still get X-Men and other things like that over here. It's just much more common than we expected. While Masks is still probably has connections to anime. It's just more Western. Like I mentioned, Young Justice, Teen Titans, kind of specifically comics, superhero media. But both are very applicable to, they work for a world of powers, which is what we have here. One thing that's very important also, and I'm sure Anish will talk more about this, the Masks system is honestly more intended to be a teen drama plus superpowers. Like it's very much about these teens living their lives and what comes with being a teen, and then also you've got powers on top of that, which is what a lot of what those shows explore too. So, Anish, is there anything that you want to say before I get into sort of the specifics of what you need to play the game and mechanics?
Yes. For one, super excited. I've been wanting to play Masks for a very long time. But like we just kind of talked about, this is going to be our biggest departure from our previous episodes. For one, because we've chosen this RPG specifically, and we're technically hacking it, right? That's what we're doing here. We're adding on from a previous game that we played and then sort of finagling the rules. The other thing is, this is the biggest rule book we've had to read so far, and we unfortunately will not be able to cover just about everything that the book covers. What we're going to do in this episode is just pretty much provide you with the basics so that you understand what it takes to be a player in this setting and then jump in to start playing. In terms of that, I have some specific things I wanted to talk about through the rules specifically.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of a roadmap for this episode, here's what I'd like to do. In the beginning of the book, there is a nice little section about setting expectations for the setting and characters, and I'd love to read through that. I'd like to discuss the core mechanics of the game, which is these things called labels, conditions, and of course your basic moves. We'll go through playbooks after that, and then talk about team moves and team specific parts of the playbook, and we'll just kind of jump in from there. Do you mind if I read this section about
Do whatever you need, yeah.
Masks' setting? Lovely.
Because reading is what?
Fun.
Fun.
Fundamental. That's
Ah.
What
RuPaul's.
is that from?
RuPaul's drag.
Oh.
There was homework?
I had to. I'm sorry. It was one of those things where I had to say it because it was just replaying in my mind over and over and over again, and I knew if I didn't expel it, it was just going to keep happening, and I couldn't listen to the rules part of the game. Forgive me. Cut this out. I'm ready to listen.
Incredible.
We will not be cutting that out, listeners.
So Masks has this really great section at the beginning of the book that talks about setting up expectations for the world. Here's how the first sentence goes. In Masks, all the characters are residents of Halcyon City. Immediately, we are throwing that out the window.
Sure.
Unfortunately, so much of this book builds up this mythos about basically your prototypical superhero city. In it, there are tons of crazy things that happen each day. You know, it's pretty much like Gotham City as a comparable. Things are always happening. But later on in that section, it does specifically talk about how Halcyon City is ours to play with, to change, to modify, and to adapt. But the designers of this game have kept in mind very specific rules to keep about Halcyon City no matter what. 1. There have been 3 full generations of superheroes, supervillains, and superpowered calamities before now, stretching back into the earlier parts of the 20th century. PCs are members of a 4th generation. Members of the prior generations are still active and interested in the future of Halcyon City. Immediately, I'm going to try to faithfully stick to this kind
Sure.
of mythos as best as possible. But since we're marrying this with single unique power setting, we're going to talk a little bit about this when we talk about one of our specific player characters. But there's a little bit of different mythos that is a little bit more magical, a little bit more Ghibli in terms of what a superhero is. But we'll be sticking to that level of generations pretty faithfully. The second thing, the city is pretty used to all kinds of insanity, from dinosaurs rampaging down the streets, to dark wizards transforming sections of the city into castles, to parallel dimensions appearing in the sky, to aliens invading. That doesn't mean these things aren't still amazing and surprising, but even as they happen, they're a fact of life in this city. So this is something I'd love to keep on in the faith of in this current setting we're living in. It's a coastal kingdom, and I imagine that in like Avatar, you know how there's like mixes of animals? I imagine most animals are like a mix of some sort of crustacean as well. And the weird effects of the meteorite that causes all this magic in this world has like led to the creation of monsters, which, you know, superheroes deal with.
Right.
So that is definitely a consistency.
Love that.
And our final thing about the setting that our game wants us to keep is that this city is the greatest city in the world.
Is now a good
Huge.
time to ask, is Halcyon City in our world where all these heroes grew up, or is this somewhere where they are going for college or something like that? Like, just so I'm imagining it as you're telling me.
This is Halcyon City is think of it like Gotham City. It is a modern setting. It is truly so specific. A lot of the rulebook in Masks talks about different organizations in Halcyon City. It is not the world we are using for this game. So
Gotcha.
all of our world will be inspired by our game in single unique power, which, by the way, really recommend you listen to those episodes because it's going to be so confusing if you don't. But to answer your question, Tori, this kingdom that we're living in is all we know. It's going to be the scope of the story. It's this coastal place, and it's all shells.
Thank you.
hmm And then another expectations that the game covers is about our team. In Masks, you always play a team of young superheroes. You're not adults. It's always about young adolescents. Think 16 to 20 years old. But there are some things about our team that are always true. It is that you choose to be here, you aren't killers, you aren't illegal or openly hunted yet, and you aren't beloved.
Mm.
So basically, in terms of the larger hero society in this culture that we're creating, I imagine that instead of like superheroes, we have different grades of power, you know? People get powers when they touch with a unique shell, and depending on how complete that shell is, you know, they get a different grade of power, like S grade, A grade, B grade, etc. So beyond that, I think heroes in this world um have like titles bestowed onto them by people. So like in the character creation, we had Aiden the Noble. So character creation in terms of that, part of the narrative that we're going to be following is that these characters aren't beloved yet. They don't have titles, but they're still being heroes through their actions. And so maybe by the end of the story, crowds will give them a title.
Mm.
You know, so that is the sort of narrative we're telling. You aren't illegal or openly hunted is probably something we won't address in this sort of setting, but like basically what the book means by that is that your team might technically be illegal, you know, but like the royal guard may say, hey,
We haven't gotten to
regulate.
the end of the Dark Knight where
Exactly. That's
they
exactly
set
Like-
all the hounds on us.
hmm
Or kind of like vigilantes versus like officially licensed heroes. Is that what you mean? Or
Exactly, right? We're in what I imagine this stage of the sup kingdom is, this coastal kingdom. I imagine we are seeing the beginning of people finally putting on costumes. This is the fourth generation. People are putting on costumes and trying to make a name for themselves. They want to earn a title because the risks of the world are increasing and they want to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, and we're just not a big enough deal yet to either
N-
be revered
Not at
or
all.
for people to be scared of us. Yeah.
Imagine if you were Peter Parker, but you didn't have to wear a costume.
So secret identity is not part of the consideration.
It
but
it depends.
now it is.
It
I think it's
depends.
more like you can have a secret identity, but no one knows your identity or your secret identity yet. Like
Exactly.
it's your
Okay.
like first day.
There
Okay.
is a playbook that involves specifically more secret identity stuff too,
Oh,
which we did not select.
got it. It's a little more of a stage name, maybe.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because in the world we're kind of creating together, it's these kind of titles that are given to you. But in this current generation, this fourth generation, masks are now becoming a thing because it makes the legend even greater. So maybe I think at the start we won't have costumes, but maybe halfway through we'll get them. So that's the sort of world I think we're trying to create here. And beyond that, the other two notes, you aren't killers and you choose to be here. Like, you guys are good kids at heart. You're not villains. You really aren't. And because we are a team, you have to be part of it. Like, you might be pressured to join the team, you might feel guilt about being a part of it, you might audibly wish you weren't a part of it while secretly loving it, but it is always your choice to be on the team. So that note is so that the team itself won't fracture during play.
Yeah. Honestly, I
Um,
love that as a starting point for most games of just like we all want to be here because otherwise why are we here? Yeah.
Exactly. This beyond that, I feel like we should move on to the core mechanic, which is labels in this game.
Yeah.
So, if people aren't familiar with Powered by the Apocalypse, it is largely defined by two unique sort of ways in which rolling works. Instead of rolling your typical Dungeons and Dragons 20-sided dice, you actually roll 2 6-sided die. In that way, you can have a range from, 2 rolling 2 ones on the dice to like 6 to rolling 2 sixes. And failures are determined by the range of totals you can get. So if you roll anywhere from a 0 to 6, it's a failure. A 7 to 9 is like a mixed sort of success. And then a 10 plus, real great success. That's the Powered by the Apocalypse system. It is very much a consistent thing across all games that use this type of system.
Based on originally on the Apocalypse World system.
Exactly. And this game sort of takes that and changes it a little bit. Like every other role-playing game with characters, everybody has a list of different stats, different labels in this game, as they call them. This is what makes your character unique and kind of defines their personality. In this game, the stats or labels are called Danger, Freak, Savior, Superior, and Mundane. All of these labels have a different number value associated with it that modifies the rolls. So for a Danger, it can be anywhere from a -2 to a +3. So if you're rolling a 2d6, that's what you add to that. The thing about this game that makes it pretty unique is that you can actually shift these values. And I feel like if you want to talk about that more.
Yeah, it's interesting because the labels typically, like in a game like Apocalypse World or Monster of the Week, these are, I feel like, fundamental aspects of you. Like the labels or the stats represent sort of what core parts of your personality, and like the only way to increase them is by leveling up, and you like it goes up by 1 because you've improved your skill in some way. Like I know Monster of the Week, what is it? It's cool, like it's weird, cool, tough, that kind of stuff, versus these are all specifically, they're called labels for a reason, because they are labels. They're how you see yourself and how people see you. So instead, and which is very perfect for a teen setting, because teens are ruled by labels and by their perception both of themselves and other people. And that's why they can shift. There are going to be certain moves that people will take against you, or certain moves that you will take where it will ask you to shift your labels, meaning that you go, it'll either tell you the labels or it'll tell you to choose labels. You choose one of your labels and it goes up by 1, and simultaneously you pick a different label that goes down by 1. So, for example, you might unleash a crazy power that saves the day and defeats the big villain, but
and your freak goes
it's a
up.
Horrific power. So your freak goes up, but your
right.
What I'm trying to think of, and then your mundane goes down to balance it, because people now see you more as a freak, or like you see yourself more as a freak. And sometimes people will like tell you things that will make you, that they will directly interact with you and like tell you, like you could have someone literally come up to you and be like, you're a freak. And unless you roll to resist that influence, you might change your personal perception, and that's going to shift your labels. You might go, your freak's going to go up and your mundane's going to go down because you're no longer normal.
So is it also kind of like with these kind of labels, for example, is there always a one-to-one with, okay, like freak versus mundane, maybe danger versus savior, or could it be like savior versus freak, danger versus mundane, that kind of stuff?
It can be any two, right? Right, Anish, cool. That's correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not explicitly paired.
Exactly. One is always sacrificed to increase the other.
It's all like circumstantial based on what's happening in the moment.
And you briefly mentioned influence there, and we'll get to that a little bit more later. But beyond this, you're probably asking, what the heck do we even roll for, right? There are, unlike other games where you just kind of roll to like attack or like roll on a specific set of skills, there is a very limited set of basic moves that any character can do, any player character can do. And they go as follows. Directly engage a threat. Very shortly, pretty much you run at an enemy and you trade blows with them. Unleash your powers, using your powers to overcome an obstacle. Defending someone, trying to jump in between a bullet for your friend. Assessing the situation, taking stock of your environment. Take a powerful blow, exactly what it sounds like. Provoke someone, very interesting move, but basically talking about if you're trying to get a rise out of somebody, seeing if you can get an opportunity from that. Very teenage thing to do, by the way. Love that move. And then two very unique moves that I really appreciate about this setting. Comfort or support someone. Basically, if you want to talk to somebody mano a mano, it's a way to add resources for better uses. And then finally, pierce the mask. Basically, this move is if you want to really get down to the bottom of somebody's identity, you can roll to see who they really are. All of these are tied to a specific label. And if you roll directly engage a threat, you're going to roll danger. If you roll assess the situation, you're going to roll superior. All of these things are tied to a specific set of labels. And that's why the labels that are assigned to specific playbooks are important. Because if a class has more mundane, they're going to be your regular Joe Schmo, but they're really good at comforting their teammates or really seeing who they are. Empathetic at the end of the day. But if somebody has more superior, they're a cocky asshole that can assess the situation and provoke people. It's a really cool mechanic. Everything kind of makes logical sense, and it's a lovely design for the game.
This is a game that's meant to be played in longer format with levels up, but we are only playing one session, or is it built as a one-off?
It's intended for longer play, but you can do.
Yeah, there's tons of things that make this game worth playing long term. Leveling up. Every time you fail in a Powered by the Apocalypse system game, if you roll a 0 to 6, you actually mark either an experience point of some kind to advance your character. That's really how you get experience to level up, which I'm really glad you brought that up, because in this game, that experience is called potential. The idea is that as you fail, your potential keeps growing and growing and growing. And then should you mark out
It's
a
5.
couple 5 potential, thank you. Should you mark out 5 potential, you get an upgrade to your character. And we'll talk about those, I think, now, because we have our playbooks coming up.
It reminds me a lot. You were talking about Power to the Apocalypse. It also reminds me a lot of the way, like when we were playing Scum and Villainy, and also Blades in the Dark. It reminds me a lot of that kind of similar system of failures and like whatnot for upgrades.
Yeah, Blades in the Dark and the Forged in the Dark sort of brand of games do have direct roots in Powered by the Apocalypse, especially with the D6s and such. There's a really cool chart I saw of the way that the games branch out. I'll send it later. It's awesome. It's like it goes like Apocalypse World, Dungeon World, and it like branches into all these games, and it's like goes into Blades in the Dark later. Oh, I love it. Anyway, do we want to just go one by one in the order of the characters that in the order of what they're listed in the playbooks?
So here's what I'll briefly talk about.
Yeah.
We've already created our characters for this session because in our last game, Single Unique Power, we had some convenient options to select from. Typically, if we were playing it in person, here's how the DM would handle things. They'd hand out the playbooks to their players. Everybody would have a chance to pick their specific playbook. And what they would do is fill out which specific playbook moves they would pick. So every playbook has specific things that make them unique, and you have a limited amount of choices you have, and upon leveling up, you can click more of them. And after that, we'd share characters. We have already selected which moves we have picked for each playbook, so now we're going to share our characters. Who wants to start, though?
I can.
Yeah.
Yes. So You can talk about their looks, abilities, starting labels, um, and then answers to your backstory questions. We'll also talk about as well.
Okay, great. I'm gonna say what I have and then feel free to direct me as needed so that it answers the prompt.
Mhm.
I'll go first because I'm Louis Giles. He, him. When you look at me, you will see a young, tall, lanky Italian boy, little bit of upper lip hair coming in. He's very proud of that. My superpower is the ability to jump, double jump. However, I can't moderate it. So if I'm jumping, it's going to 10 feet in the air. So forget that high school trend of jumping and hitting the ceiling because I would go through it. Because of this power, I am limited in what kind of clothing I could wear. So instead of pants, which I have trouble with if I'm leaping so high, I do wear overalls to keep those secure. Growing up, my hero was my older brother, Marcellus. And he was the pride of the family. And here's what I'm thinking: that attack that happened with the amoeba superpower, Kermit the Frog, my brother Marcellus's death was somehow related to that village being destroyed.
Ooh.
I'm going to say Marcellus had powers. I'm going to say he had the ability to harden his skin to become almost shell-like. So when my brother died, Marcellus the Shell, yes. When when my brother died, his final form was this collection of shells, and that's actually the moment I got my power, was watching him. I came and I held his dead shell of a body.
Wait a
And
second.
that
You
was the
came and
shell.
you held his dead shell of the body, and then you immediately double jumped into the air.
That's when I
you got a one up. You got a one up.
That's when I got the, yes, we are mushroom farmers. We're the local mushroom farmers of the community. That's when I felt this burning desire to help people, and I realized suddenly I do have an ability that I didn't think I had before. So I didn't necessarily jump right after the moment of mourning, but that's when this fire was stoked inside me.
Incredible.
So
Yes.
what is your playbook?
Thank you. My playbook is the Beacon. The character that they relate this trope to is like Robin, young idealist, wanting to help however they can. Oh, and here's a description. I'll read the description because I like this. You don't have to do this. You could probably have a safe, decent, simple life. It'd be nice, but come on, superpowers, aliens, wizards, time travel. You're out of your depth, but who cares? This is awesome. Everybody should try it.
Oh,
Yes. So that's Luigi.
Luigi. I keep forgetting.
And I think the stage name, superhero name that I want to take on for now, I'm thinking it's just Good Game. GG.
Oh, nice.
Game. The
Inspired a
good
little bit
game.
by the boys like Mother's Milk, that just acronym
Oh, so
format. So
Nice.
MM.
good. Can you tell us a little bit about your moves that you picked?
yes. Oh, and then I'll add, because something I have is drives.
Yeah, something that makes the beacon unique is that they pretty much have a to-do list that they're trying to it's a bucket list essentially, which is it's lovely. A lovely thought that you're definitely not made to be a superhero, but you make this bucket list of things that you really want to do.
So those are: help a teammate when they most need you, because I couldn't help my brother; pull off
Oh.
a ridiculous stunt based on the single unique power. We know that Louis has jumped a volcano before, so I think I'm always trying to up that to prove my worth. Take down a threat all on your own, and reject someone who tells you you shouldn't be here. I'm going to say that my parents aren't thrilled with me pursuing a life of supering, given that that's how Marcellus perished. And then the moves that I've chosen, I All love to the creators. I hate the name of this move. Straight up creeping. When you scope out a person or place, roll mundane. That's the label, and I'm actually pretty buffed in that. On a 10, I get to ask 2 questions. On a 7 to 9, I get to ask 1. I won't go through all the different questions. And then the other move that I have is, tell me if I'm pronouncing this wrong. Suck it, Domatician. When
Suck
you
it, Domitian?
I don't know what that
Domitian?
means. It's
Suck
probably a
it,
reference
comma.
to something.
No clue what that means.
I think it's a reference. Listeners, let us know if you know this reference.
So
When you
Roman
stand
Emperor?
strong while dramatically under fire, roll savior instead of danger to directly engage a threat because the beacon has a stronger savior category than danger.
Yes, and I may not have gotten into detail about what the labels specifically mean, but this is a great jumping off point because
Hey,
Speaking
danger.
of,
Hey,
jumping
speaking of,
off.
Jump. Yeah, I got it.
hey,
Hey, what's up, Danger?
So
Don't be a
true.
stranger.
so danger as a label pretty much represents if you walk into a building, people are afraid of you. Like you are like a ticking time bomb. You pose a threat. You being a gamer, you with your gamer powers aren't exactly a threat. So this specific playbook move is really good because you roll savior instead. Savior as a stat pretty much means how selfless you are. Are you going to jump in front of somebody else to take a bullet? Saving other people is what savior stat is.
what I love though is that in the stats, since they are labels, they list what it means both for you to have that label in yourself, but also how other people might perceive you negatively. So like savior being like you are selfless, but people also might think that you're full of yourself or something. Like that you think that you're better than some, or no, I'm thinking superior. Sorry.
Stop that, reverse it.
Yes. To quickly cover the other ones, freak. What that means in game is that you have a lot of power. Your powers are pretty much off the charts if you have a +3 in that. But it also means that people view you as an outsider. You are pretty much othered
Kermit.
socially. Kermit the Frog is a great example from our single unique power game.
Powers are
Yep.
freak-like and disliked in the community.
Exactly. Other than that, superior, it basically means how well can you assess a situation, your smarts. But alongside that, if it's also very high, it also means you have a pretty high ego. As a teenager, these are your like debate kids, like quintessential superior teen. They can definitely verbally outwit you, but they could be humbled. And then mundane, of course, is just being an empathetic person. But how people view you is you're not anything special. And for the beacon, that's their central problem. They are mundane. They have this lovely ability to be empathetic, but they want to be special. So that move, Suck It to Mission, is really cool because in this way, it doesn't matter if you aren't an imposing danger. Your savior is what makes you special.
And you covered that savior's a mechanic just like these.
Savior is one of the labels that
Thank you, label.
affects the roles.
Freak, danger, savior, superior, mundane.
Mm-hmm.
Pop quiz at the end of the episode.
And normally you'd be sure to go through the backstory questions when you're kind of introducing yourself. I think you covered most of
Kind
them.
of did that, yeah. You really made that happen.
Yeah. I don't think we talked much about the team yet, but we can get into the team once we've introduced everybody.
Mm-hmm. We'll do that after. Who wants to go next?
I'd be happy to go. So my character's name is Bree Plumtree. When we played single unique power, her superpower is that she can sing a song that calms people, like a chill pill situation. However, it has to be the subject that is being calmed has to be willing. So it's a trust situation. And her personality that we determined back then was that she's aggressive, with a good heart, but like aggressive. So what I've created, with the help of our team here, is a delinquent character, which is the sheet. The blurb that they use for delinquent is, you've got these cool powers, but everyone keeps telling you how to use them. You know what they need? Someone to give them trouble, to make sure they don't always get their way. And hey, you're the perfect hero to do it. So Bree does not have, I think she does not have a secret identity. She has no costume. She's a gothy, young adult, older teen, I think like probably 18, 19, goth girl, singer. Her abilities, like I said, are calm emotion, working with that. And then as far as her stats are, she's not particularly dangerous. She's not particularly freaky. Her powers aren't super strong. Her savior is -1 because she's, she's aggressive. She doesn't want you to know that she cares about you. Her mundane is 1 because she is just a normal person. And then she is super superior. So unlike debate kids, but the kind of the like cooler than you and knows what's going on more than you do, because she's, she's got it covered. Don't worry about it. However, she is a pretty good-hearted person. The moves that she's got are you watching closely? Which is when I mislead, distract, or trick someone, I get to roll superior, and then I can like fool them and expose weaknesses and flaws. And then my other 2 moves, if I am assessing a situation, I can always ask a question that is related to my criminal mind. So even if I fail, I get to find out if something is useful or valuable to me, or how I can best infuriate or provoke someone. And then the last one that I picked is a helping action. It's called Troublemaker, and it's if I help my team through destructive, criminal, or rule-breaking actions, I give them +2 instead of +1. So it's like, I think she's like above it all, but actually is trying to help you out, which makes sense because I'll turn it over maybe to one corner of the love triangle next, because there's a little love triangle going on, and I think that she's she's part of that. She's invested.
This will be a fun dynamic because it's Masks is about teens. Inevitably, a lot of the times there will be some sort of romance that happens. Crushes are definitely a thing. And from our sub episode, I'm not sure if we covered it so far in the recording, but the love triangle I think is Forrest likes Cynthia, and
Yes.
Forrest also saw Cynthia and Bree kissing at some point. I don't think we've fleshed that out yet, but we can do it a little bit during our get to know each other relationship sections.
Did you want to go through some of the specific backstory questions, or did you already cover those?
Which I tried to more talk about my backstory with the sup, but I can pull that up.
I mean, we do have that kind of answered with our prepared stuff.
Yeah. Typically, we'd answer the specific backstory questions. It's fine if we take a backseat from that for this character creation purpose, since we already played Single Unique Power.
If you want the backstory, listen to Single Unique Power.
I am curious. I like that question about when did you first, like, what was that first moment that you either put on the costume or realized that you had some kind of
got your powers?
Oh, yeah.
Your shell. Tell me about your shell.
I mean, I think that she probably knew about the shells, but she doesn't care that much because she's already cool. She was doing small performances, like from the base of the rules. She is not beloved. However, she is a performer, so I think she probably has like a couple fans, but very underground, like indie artist. People don't know her name yet. So I think that she probably just picked it up. And I like in SUP, we found out that she figured out the limitations of her powers at a concert. I think that she probably also figured out her powers at a concert, because there's that okay, everybody, let's all come together. Do you trust me? And everyone's like, yeah, we do. And then instead of like yelling and screaming at the concert, everyone was just like, I am so relaxed.
Aw.
And she was like, oh, okay. I guess this is what I can do now.
There's a tweet that it's like, as a DJ, I never ask the crowd how they're doing because I know the answer is woo.
That's awesome. I love Bree. Let's see who we should meet next.
Michael, do you want to go ahead? Because I feel like mine's kind of weird, and I'll save it for the last one.
Sure. Yeah, I was trying to go through the thing.
Well,
I was like looking at the
obviously,
backstory and
Forrest, if you see that Bree has gone, I feel that would incentivize you to go,
yeah,
given your...
yeah. No, I was just trying to figure out some of the
Step
stuff.
up, buy for the hand.
So yeah, my character's name is Forrest. No last name. He was raised by Sarah in the magical woods, but as a child was kind of fed up with this life of like expectations, like living with this kind of, I think we talked, Anish, briefly about it. Like you were thinking like Sarah's kind of how are you picturing kind of like a what's her face from Spirited Away? Who's the witch from Spirited Away? What's her name?
I don't
The good
remember,
one?
but yes, she's definitely a witch.
Yes. Yubaba.
Yubaba.
I knew it was like, yeah. So very much raised by like this Yubaba character.
Hold on. Is that
and
the one
kind-
who runs the spa, or there's like her sister who's like benevolent
Sarah
and
was
kind?
Is it the old
first
lady?
person. Sarah blending in like an octopus. Hermit.
So that would be the kind sister who lives in the woods?
The character from
From
Spirited
Spirited
Away.
Away.
Oh yeah.
I'm wondering if the sister's name is Yubaba. No, Zaniba. So I believe you're referencing Zaniba.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Zeneba. Yep.
They're
You're right.
identical twins. So.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Can I get some influence for that?
Google for some reason
thought
highlighted.
Julie
I
is
said
alive
good
and
witch
well.
name and it highlighted Yubaba for some
Well, she's
reason.
the like primary
Yeah.
witch. Apologies for
Right.
interrupting and correcting you.
As you should. But yeah, Michael, this is sort of what I was thinking too. You know, old witch in like a shell house, like far away on a corner of the beach. You know,
Mhm.
and we talked a little bit about part of Forrest's backstory was like they got homeschooled because they were bullied. They ran away from home at some point.
Right.
Like it's an interesting part in terms of the relationship you have with Sarah. There's a lot to draw from just from that alone. But the thing I wanted to say at the top is that the legacy is about a lineage of people. And in this story, I think the lineage that we're going to be drawing from is like this shared history of like witches. In this world, it's like since there is a meteor that gives shells power, using shells as like magical equipment to like cast spells is like its own skill set that is very specific. So I think that is part of this legacy to keep in mind.
I think
Um,
sorry, I think I was just slightly confused a little bit navigating some of this stuff because I know in the sup thing we said that Forrest got powers from Drip. So that was the thing I was confused. That's why I was waiting to go because I was trying to navigate that.
So-
because I wasn't entirely sure what we thought about that.
Yeah, this is
necessarily.
what I want to establish. It's a weird thing for me as a GM trying to create a superhero world in what is essentially a fantasy folktale setting that we establish in Single Unique Power. The compromise I'm adding to that is in the older generations of this world, there were people who didn't immediately have shells. Like the first generation of powered people were people that
Right.
used like tiny bits of the meteorite or part of the shells that came from the meteorite. They use that to cast spells, and this is a skill that not many people know. I think part of this character is not just the fact that they got and this is also on account of the fact that I forgot to call you and talk about this yesterday.
I was yeah. I think okay. That being said, I think
We can cut
okay.
this out.
How about this? Okay, so yeah, so Forrest raised by Sarah, this character, this witch character on the beach. Forrest, out in the wild, very much kind of a homeschooled, kind of isolated childhood type experience. And my thinking is that Forrest was raised with this old style of magic, old style of powers system, but it's difficult, it's hard. And I think something with the shells is that it makes it, once you have it, you kind of get that power that you were given by the shell. It's not necessarily like a skill to learn the power, but it's kind of given with the shell itself. And so Forrest was frustrated with, having to do this training, having to learn the old ways when there is this new way that a lot of people do. And that's where Forrest sought out Drip, sought out this thing, and was able to receive the powers of super speed and did that. And that created a kind of friction between Forrest and Sarah because of this new way of doing things, this kind of, cheat kind of like easy way out instead of learning kind of the more traditional magic that kind of the legacy of that system.
I love that pitch because the way I'm envisioning the generations of this world, I think to begin with, it was all witches. Second generation,
Right.
big shell powers with witches. And then in the third generation, which is sort of Sarah's generation, witches have come away from the spotlight and now
Right.
are holding on to this culture that is very rare. And it's a sort of a point of pride. So I think immediately at the top of your character's like story, like having tension between like I have really cool shell powers and I don't want to
Right.
be inside this house studying all these things when I could just use the powers that were given to me.
Right. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I like that a lot. So I think that's general backstory in terms of, I think Forrest is a good kid. Loves, wants to help people, wants to protect people. Generally, even do, in spite of kind of a rougher, being bullied and all of that stuff as a child. But I think that frustration of not understanding the old ways of doing stuff and wanting to actually be able to do something productive to help people and that kind of stuff led to exploiting the shell powers. And so that's why with the legacy, one of my main skills, main labels is being a savior, which I have 3 points, like +3 in savior. And I chose, due to that, these 2 legacy moves. One, I chose fight the good fight, which is when I pull punches with directly engaging a threat, I can roll savior instead of danger because my danger is -1. If you do, you cannot choose to impress, surprise, or frighten your foe. And so I chose this because I think, Forrest isn't exactly a dangerous person. Running fast is, can be scary if it's like coming at you like too quickly. But I think Forrest isn't one who wants to really hurt people. Forrest just wants to save people and wants to help others. And so that's why I wanted to go with that. And the other one I went with, kind of going along with Savior as well, is never give up, never surrender. When you take a powerful blow by someone with far greater power than you, use this move instead of the basic move. I roll Savior on a hit, I stand strong, and choose 1 on 7 to 9. I mark in condition. Kind of thought of this as, with Sup being kind of a manga, like anime inspiration, this is like, the power of my friends compels me to stand up and take this blow. You'll never take me down. That kind of vibe. So I think, yeah, Forrest very much kind of good kid, good intentions, maybe a little naive. Yeah. Homeschooled.
Love that. And in terms of your abilities, you have super speed on the actual play sheet
Right.
itself. Here's what the abilities section says. You have powers that match your general line. Choose one suite of powers, but pick 2 powers that you don't have from that suite. This world is a little bit different because
The way that you
we have
said different there.
it's
Through
I've
brain.
been very
Different?
I've been very stressed trying to match.
I've
these
been up
two
all
worlds.
night.
I actually, yeah, I have been up all night. But the powers that are listed here in your suite are super speed, regeneration, phasing, speed reading / learning, and air manipulation. And for the sake of your stuff, I think speed reading and learning can represent part of your training as a witch. You know, like
Yeah.
you can learn things really fast, and that's the thing you shared with Sarah. In the single unique power game, she also does have like a shell power. Like she can just turn sort of octopus like and invisible in natural settings. So like at some point she did pick up a shell and was like, fuck, damn it. Now I have this damn power. But she's more in the line of like, I can also create fireballs from
Mm.
material components. Like that's the sort of person we're working with here. And
Regeneration maybe slightly, along with that.
yeah, but the way we can massage that into a theme, way we can make that work is any powers that aren't super speed are magic. You just cast it. So do you want to pick
Cool.
2 powers you don't have from that suite?
So 2 powers besides super speed and speed reading.
That you don't have.
That you don't have from that list we talked about.
You have everything
So-
on that list but 2.
Oh.
So it sounded like Josh Rubin's portrayal of a robot having an orgasm.
yeah.
On that show.
Is phasing like teleporting?
It's like going through a
phasing?
wall.
Huh.
You move so fast that your atoms
I
can't.
can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like super speed, speed reading, and phasing seem interesting, and then not regeneration and air manipulation.
You could have air manipulation, you could have regeneration, and make that like magic. You could heal people, could be interesting.
Wait. Oh.
You were saying
Okay.
you don't
I mean-
want regeneration, right?
I was thinking maybe, I don't know, because
I think that I no skin in this game, but I do like because your weakness is that you heat up, right? So I do think not having regeneration could make sense for that because you have to pause and not heat up. I don't know.
I also think it's funny if you can manipulate air
To cool
like with
yourself
your
off.
to cool yourself off potentially with magic.
You did also heat me up to make me not frozen once.
Yeah, I did. You're right.
But it's
Phasing seems cool.
phasing seems cool.
But I don't know. Because like speed reading, learning. Okay, super speed, yes. Speed reading, learning, sure. I don't know.
Whichever one is most
can't
interesting to
decide.
you, I think.
It seems phasing's the most interesting to you, so
Yeah, I feel like phasing.
cool. Let's do that then.
Because it's like air manipulation. Meh.
Fair. Sounds cool. In terms of that, there's a part of your legacy book
Right.
at the end that talks about the important parts of being your legacy's important part of Halcyon City. Name different members of your legacy, at least 2. This
Right.
is a little different because this part of the rulebook only applies to see how members of your legacy react to your most recent exploits. This is going to be a one shot, so I don't think we'll be using this part of the rulebook as much. So we can ignore that.
Copy. Cool.
Cool. Anything else you want to mention about our friend Forrest?
I think we covered most of what I was thinking about. But yeah, no, this works. I think this sounds pretty good for me. Seems pretty good. Forrest, a good old kid.
Which leaves us with Cynthia.
Yeah, Cynthia is in her single unique. Oh, I have a question. You guys were both referring to Forrest differently. He, they, what's
They?
Actually,
what's Forrest's situation?
I actually don't know.
Michael.
What is the
Let's say Forrest is they, them.
Okay.
lovely?
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, so in the single unique power session, Cynthia's superpower was outlined as elastic body. So I'm imagining like an Elastigirl, Mr. Fantastic type situation. And with the undoing being cold temperatures. And at some point in the past, that caused her to be, twisted in a pretzel, or maybe just twisted in a pretzel and frozen in a pretzel, which just that kind of shape, which then Forrest helped her out with by running really fast
In circles around her.
Yeah. But despite the weakness being cold, we have her personality as rigid. So I kind of imagine her almost as a student council type, sort of like a
Student council president.
And she is kissing the goth girl?
Oh my god.
I see her as sort of high strung, stressed. I see her as she's got sort of principles in mind. That's also why I have her her superior at a pretty high level.
We're both superior.
Yeah, I think I have her superior at 3. Are we both superior at 3?
Yeah.
And
who's more superior?
We're both at 3.
that's what we'll have to wrestle with, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Where did my sheet go? There we go.
Well, I feel like it could be the kind of thing of like we're superior together. Like you're the only one who gets me.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, don't get too attached to your labels because they might quickly.
Yeah.
They will certainly shift. That's that we have to discover. So yeah, I kind of have her as, she's probably doing too much, stretching herself too thin. Holy shit!
Good job.
Oh,
Good job.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, she's doing that. And she's just very. I need to stop clicking this on a podcast. She's very sort of that type. She's got I visually I have her as sort of glasses and like a messy bun with brown hair, and I figured she'd have to wear clothes that allows her to stretch easily. So I just have her in like a simple tank top. So she probably wears very simple clothes, doesn't maybe athletic clothes, just room for stretching as she might need. Her labels are danger -1. She's not too. Who's our most dangerous? Do we have anyone who's like crazy dangerous? I feel like we're all pretty low
I'm
on
0.
danger. Damn. Yeah. Well.
yeah. I'm -1.
It could change.
I don't think we have. Yeah.
Freak is 0. She's pretty normal, and when she's not stretching out.
Right now.
Savior, she is 1. Superior is 3. I think that she sees her. She's rigid in her views. She sees herself as, maybe she doesn't look down on other people always, but like she definitely like has her way of doing things and doesn't want to move from that. And then mundane 0. The playbook for her, I forgot to mention that this is where it's interesting. We selected that she has the protege playbook, which sort of in line with, like I mentioned earlier, like Terry McGinnis, or like some kind of character that's a direct. I could even be a Robin, a direct sidekick or studying under a specific mentor, which oftentimes is a hero type. However, in our case, because of the factions we decided at the end, Cynthia was actually one of the few who is in the like enemy sort of evil faction. We are sort of writing this as she is her mentor is Drip Isocane, who is we've kind of painted as the main antagonist of our setting.
Mhm.
However, she does not know that.
Phantom of the Opera.
Interesting.
Phantom of the Opera.
She works for Drip in like Drip's like shop, where he sells sort of like shells or sundries, like kind of various materials and stuff like that, various goods. I don't know if we exactly talk about.
Yeah, he's
that's
got
kind
like
of
a shop on the
Kind of like
boardwalk.
Jinx.
Yeah, like on a boardwalk,
Like Jinx and Arcane.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like her day job. Like she needs a job to support her, like any high schooler, plus to pad out her resume probably. I don't know. She, like I said, she's stretched very thin, but at night she like, walked around on the boardwalk, whatever. She was just at one day approached by a figure called the Storm, which, if we remember, Drip Isokane was also referred to as the Storm. And so the Storm is Drip's alternate persona, who is sort of like a supervillain type. She doesn't know that he's a supervillain, but he has taken her under her wing to taken her under his wing to teach her things and get her to do things for him that are helpful. So when you have this playbook, the protege playbook, you share an ability with your mentor. And when we talked about Drip's ability, his whole motivation is that he has kind of a shitty power, being that he can just breathe underwater. So in my head, he taught her techniques to like expand her lungs with her stretchiness to like make her able to hold her breath longer or something, so that she can kind of breathe underwater too.
Nice.
Which I feel like was
Cool.
justified in her power. And then, yeah, but I don't think I can fully breathe underwater. I think I can just
Hold your breath.
hold my breath for a very long time. And one thing that I pick for the mentor is also what labels they embody and what they deny. In my head, because Anish, we didn't talk about this, but what I thought, since we know Drip's motivations sort of keeping people from getting powers, I had that he embodies mundane and denies superior, which I felt is probably
completely agree. And I saw that, and I based this whole session around it potentially.
Okay, sweet. So yeah, he's trying to promote more normalcy and like not prevent the spread of powers or whatever his motivation is. So
is that true with you too? Like, is he trying to take you down a bit?
I think that he is sort of whispering in my ear a little bit, almost like a Palpatine type situation where
here's how I imagine it. I think it's your regular day job where you kind of have like a boss sitting next to you, and like he'll lecture you about like how lovely it is down in this part of the city, this part of the kingdom, because this is where the real people are, and then he'll look up at the kingdom and the palace where the nobles are from and say they're hoarding all this magic and they're taxing us,
Ironic, since he himself is a hoarder of magic.
I mean,
he's certainly
inferiority complex, and then like he'll feed you like these things day to day, like it's okay to be just a regular Joe Schmo, and then at night, when he's in his persona walking the boardwalk, on the off chance that like you see him or you have a meeting that day, like he'll teach you how to use your powers if you want to be special, and then just like slightly propagandize.
Yeah, I see it as definitely like he's kind of playing up like, wow, other people's powers are kind of better than yours. Like yours is like you have powers, but you were stuck with this like limited like other. Look at Forrest. Forrest can run like crazy fast and has all these other
and saved you.
Yeah,
and the system is unfair.
Yeah,
there's a church that preaches that things happen for a reason, and that is a lie. The magic proves so. Make of it what you will. You're still a kid. You still have time to decide who you want to be, but keep that in mind. The world's unfair. That sort of rhetoric.
Yeah, and I think that plays into sort of what Cynthia's susceptible to hearing a lot. So she's very stressed and she has a good heart, but I think she is susceptible to sort of corruption, and he's having her do some small tasks throughout that might start growing as he goes. And I don't think that she's open about the mentorship. She probably hasn't told the rest of you about that specifically. You all know that she works at Drips, because I don't think that everyone thinks that Drip's a villain yet. I think that's more dramatic irony. So anyway, the moves that I chose for her were active moves to venting frustration. When I directly engage while I'm angry, I can roll plus the label that my mentor denies and clear angry. So there's things that you get called conditions, which are basically instead of harm, you have like emotional conditions that sort of hold you back. So if I have that condition marked, I can use it to my advantage. And I think that works really well, especially with her being so stressed and pent up. that she like takes it out. You know, she uses her superiority instead of her instead of directly. I think directly engage, is that a danger one or a savior? I can't remember
It's
what
a
that is.
danger.
Yeah, it's a danger, which, you know, her danger is not good. So it's great when she's mad, she can sort of focus.
Yeah, we're not a very dangerous team.
Nope. And then I also have fireside chat. When I seek the advice from my mentor, roll plus the label they embody, which is mundane. On a hit, they will tell you what to do, and they sort of, it's about giving me advice and sort of a way that I can consult my mentor. I choose 3. Oh, I did choose 3. And then I also have be mindful of your surroundings. When you assess the situation before entering into a fight, you may ask one additional question, even on a miss. So I thought that kind of fell in line with her as well.
It's a lovely thing. And I love how these characters have come together. It was a little bit of a challenge to directly translate the sub characters to like this setting specifically, but I think we did a decent job.
Yes.
Hero!
So we've now we can probably go through the team
Sidekick.
questions, right?
Yes. Now that we've done introducing our characters and seeing how they fit into our single unique power setting, this is the part where we look at our playbook sheets at the specific section called when our team first came together. So basically we just have to decide on a collective incident that happened where all 4 teams came together to solve the problem. It was a dangerous enemy of some kind, and you all banded forces and decided to stay together as a team. So there's actually a specific order in which we answer these things. And the first person up is the delinquent.
The delinquent?
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. That's interesting. Because my questions are kind of funky. This is when our team first came together. We totally broke some major rules to win the fight. What rules did we break? And whose rules were they? I think that I have a prompt that would leave stuff open, I think.
Yeah, we can make it an open conversation as well to make think of like a fun creature.
Yeah, another situation where we all like talk about it, but like in terms of your specific question, you're the one who has the final say in that specific detail.
What I was
Thank you, Rule
thinking, we broke, what rules did we break and whose rules were they? I like the idea that the rules that we broke were against this sort of witch order of like maybe they were trying to take on the challenge and we knew that like they were going to fail. So we stepped in and like the rules that we broke are like we're friggin' teens. We weren't supposed to be the ones doing this battle. Like they were taking care of it. It's like y'all are outdated. Let us in there.
Oh,
Outdated,
Not licensed.
out of style, something loser.
Yeah, that kind. So that was my take.
Yes, I'm reading the rule book specifically on this section. When our first team together, I'll actually read this part of the rule book. After introductions, determining the inciting incident that made this team of young superheroes come together in the first place. If it was something big, something that none of them could tackle on their own, something that required them to work together against far greater odds, something that forged them into a great group. A group greater than the sum of its parts. And then when you actually start playing, you'll tell a story sometime after this inciting incident. So since everybody has their own thing, I just wanted to double check we can answer what the thing was.
Yeah. And I think that might be a clarifying question. Like so the witches were going to fight something. It was something big that the witches were fight. Like what's the reason that we were the ones that we thought would be better?
Which I think what I was going with there, the rule was, don't get involved, you're kids.
Yeah.
And as the delinquent, since it's my question, I think that there was something nice too in like forest, like they would be going directly against the people, which they kind of have that rebellious streak, but it still would be kind of intimidating. Cynthia's very straight-laced, right? I don't know if it would be necessary with Louis, but me using my calming down of like, no, like everybody, we got this, and able to get y'all in a mental space that you can take the anxiety of breaking the rules and facing it.
Interesting.
And maybe it's also something like some kind of like regulations against like using powers without, I don't know, license or something.
Yeah.
I don't
Or
know.
maybe it was like they were out of material components and we have these innate powers, so like let us in there.
Or like we saw, I don't know, some tree or structure about to fall that they weren't aware of, and we were like, we have to step in because they're not seeing it. So then they come out of the fight like, you should never intervene. We're dealing with these higher, you're a liability if you're on the on the battleground. Versus we were like, well, we had to get in there because there was this.
Yeah. So our like connection is
Bureaucracy.
that we are gonna get it done even when the adults tell us we can't.
I do love this. I love that pitch, Tori. Can I pose something
Yes.
to the specific threat? What if there's a cove off the coast of the city that is like very much under lock and key from the witches, inside which there's quote unquote a giant monster, if not handled properly by the witches, will come out and wreck the city. It's just part of like some legend. And then teenagers being curious, you hear about it, you can see things are going wrong, and like witches are being thrown out this cave, left and right. And so in this inciting incident, we have a witch already there, and then a couple of people just kind of curious. Maybe that's the time to step in.
I like it.
I like that idea.
It's ultimately up to Emma to pick. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I think that my questions are so specific. I feel like other people's questions will
Yeah.
further flesh out what the situation is. So I was only hitting on what rules did we break.
Yeah, I think if we answer all the
Yeah.
questions
Yeah.
and then fill in the gaps
Yeah.
when we're done with the questions, just to get a more.
So
better
the
picture.
rules that we
True,
broke is
true.
that we weren't supposed to engage because it was the witch's domain and it was their rules.
Gotcha. Oh, I'm
Right.
understanding how this works. Lovely. The next after the delinquent is the legacy. All things considered. Oh wait, I'll let you read it.
Yeah, all things considered, we did well and impressed an established hero. Who was it? I mean, it could be Sarah. No, but I don't know.
What about? I'm trying to think of the people we have established. We have Aiden.
Yeah, because I'm like, I feel like it wouldn't impress her.
Aiden, Miranda, Morrow. Either of them.
Aiden seems good, potentially, as
Like a thank you from the royal
Yeah.
I think Aiden
aristocracy
seems
for
good. That's
maintaining.
I was because it wouldn't be Sarah, because Sarah would be like, oh, you used shell, da 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 da. I think Aiden might be like, because Aiden we'd think is probably, is more like shell based, less magic type thing. So I think that would make sense if Aiden's like, oh, you have done our society a great service with this act of heroism.
And if you're open to it, maybe the actions that we took were able to, reinforce the gate or in some way hold this monster off long enough that Aiden arrives, Shell builds the gate,
And like
reinforces,
finishes
Oh,
the job with us.
I like
That's
that.
great.
and it's like, thanks for keeping it at bay. But what do you think about that, Michael?
Yeah, no, I was. That's honestly that like goes pretty well with like my like thinking. I like that a lot. Like I was thinking, yeah. He kind of like kind of an All Might type thing, where it's like, oh, good job there. I'll take care of the rest of this. Yeah, I like that.
And that would make sense as to why we're still unknown, because we just did that
Right.
beginning portion.
Because kind of like he took more of the, I guess, credit / would heat.
Like he
I
did
guess.
the big part, yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. After the legacy is the protege.
All right. My question is, we stuck together after all was said and done. Why? How'd we keep in contact? That's tough.
I mean,
How'd we keep in contact? I mean, Okay, my question is, what's the schooling system like? I imagine there is a school,
And we all live in the same
and
town.
we all live in
right?
the. I think that
We established that there's schools because Forrest was homeschooled.
that's right.
Yeah.
Wait, I have an idea. I have an offering.
Yeah, please.
Maybe we're not a band, but maybe we could have jam sessions where
Yes,
you're the singer,
jam session.
right?
Ah,
That
I
could be
love
kind of
that.
something. I could see
If any of y'all are feeling too anxious, we get a jam session together.
I could see maybe Cynthia, like if you have that stretching ability, able to do like some big organ or keyboard, some like massive type instrument. I
That's
don't
kind
know.
of fun. I like
Could be
that. I
something.
like the idea that I think that falls in line with a little bit what we do.
And then every now and then something happens and we're like, you wanna handle this again?
Let's
I
let
feel like
this.
Forrest just. I can't just. Maybe like, what would be more interesting? I'm like speed. I'm like I can
drum
imagine
really
like.
fast.
Hell yeah.
I was thinking that's what I was. I was like
Hell
drum or
yeah.
like really fast riffing on like a guitar. You know what I mean? Like, you know. Yeah.
So cool. No matter
Well, I
what.
mean, I'm just imagining. Oh my god, I'm imagining like they're playing a song or something, and then they go to the drum solo, and it's like, y'all aren't ready for this. Y'all are not ready for the fucking. Because like obviously, if you're drumming that fast, we can't keep in beat. But like for a solo, or drumming or guitar fast, like either way, the
Yeah.
rhythm. I mean, rhythm would make a lot of sense, but guitar also works.
Yeah.
If you're open to guitar, I kind of like drum because I'm imagining I could have a cymbal like on the ceiling
And you
that I jump to like hit or some shit.
Yeah. No. I mean that's fine. Fine
Okay,
by
so
me.
maybe we have a musical group.
Hello again.
Well, I like that. That's how we keep in touch. I wonder if in the inciting incident, like, how did we discover that? Like, maybe, I mean,
If I was singing,
you sang and
just like how
someone
in
was
sync.
kind of like, we kind of had like a vibe. Like, I don't know who would say that, but maybe you. I don't know. But
And I'm like,
might
if
be
you
too
want, I
cool
have
to.
I have all the equipment at my house. So like anytime, head on over.
I have a new song for us, guys. Check it out. Bop 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 ba da bop ba da ba da bop 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 bop.
Come on and jump up
super high.
I jump in. Okay.
Okay, I like that. Let's do that. Excellent idea.
That I'm so happy right now.
Masterful gambit, sir.
And the last is the
Quite.
beacon.
Woo.
That's me. Okay.
Bringing
so
home the beacon.
3-second neutral response.
Wow, you really roasted me. You fried me.
I don't get
Girl.
this one.
Gonna be a 6-second neutral response if you keep
Like
it going.
Girl.
Right.
Girl.
Anyway, before I ask the beacon's question, I have a question maybe for the GM. I'm curious, what did this monster look like, or do we not see it?
Ooh, interesting. What do y'all think?
I like the idea that we didn't see it.
I like that it's in like a dark cave and we just see the threats, like
yeah.
just see the results of it.
Wait, repeat what the question was real quick. Like whether we
So
saw.
that's just my question. My question is, what does this beast look like?
Maybe what y'all saw was like, this is a pitch. You didn't see the full monster, but like extending from the darkness, like parts
Like a
of it,
tentacle.
you know?
Yeah,
like,
that's fun.
Yeah, that's what.
tendrils.
Yeah, I that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that. That's even more fucked up.
So the question is, we found signs that this incident was just the start of something bigger. What were the signs?
And he's just like, I know what the signs are. What were the signs?
So
Anisha's
okay,
nodding and saying he
here's
does.
here's an offering. Is maybe the gate didn't randomly break. It looked like somebody
sabotage
did it on purpose.
Oh,
I love that.
Maybe we got a look around the enclosure and it looks like they're actually powering this thing up as opposed to trying to.
Yeah, I like the idea that
you
there's
know.
something like fucked up going on with the coven, or like the
Mhm.
witches might be sort of hiding that we uncovered through doing it. Maybe that's why they were like, you guys can't interfere.
Yeah, we've got it under control. That's fun.
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay, very good. What's next? Relationships?
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yes, I love
Each playbook has 2 relationships in it, sentences with blanks in them. One at a time, each player reads one sentence from their playbook, fills in the name of a fellow teammate. That sets an initial relationship between those 2 characters. I don't think there's an order to these, but do we want to just go in the reverse order that we just went, maybe?
It's a great idea.
Sure, works for me.
Starting with Toei.
So Louis' 2 questions. I don't know if everybody's are different. Blank
You-
is awesome.
And you just do one right now, I think, right?
Huh?
Isn't it you read one at a time and you go around?
One
a
at a
circle?
time, each player reads one sentence.
Thank you.
And then you do the
Shout
next
out
round.
to
Gotcha.
got it. Reading
All
comprehension.
the questions are different, though, Tori.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Zoop. Louis' first relationship question is blank is awesome and you take every chance you get to hang out with them. Is it one of our party members?
I believe so, yes. It says
Okay.
fill out each character's relationships with the others. So I think that means
Okay. I feel Louis pretty good aligned, more of a rule follower, so I'm thinking it's not Bree. Remind me, what are your character traits, Cynthia and Forrest?
rigid is my personality, like a student council president, vibe.
Mine is self-conscious.
Okay, I think that Forrest is awesome, and I take every chance to try to show them how great they are if you just believe in yourself.
Aw.
Aww.
You can do it.
And then
It's a you.
Let's go.
It's you.
To the mall.
Okay, then it's me. Unless there's other details you want to add to that.
It's a
I
you?
think that's
That's
great,
good,
'cause
yeah.
we're trying to-
Okay. Protege, you and blank teamed up a few times before the rest of you came together. Let's see. My powers are stretchy. I'm trying to see who that would kind of go with. We already have established that Forrest and I had a thing, but that's different though. I feel like that's
Remind me, hang on now.
Yeah.
Forrest has a crush on Cynthia, but
Mhm.
Forrest
Yes.
saw Cynthia and Bree kissing.
And Bree.
I would
We
say
don't
that's
know what.
I kind of like that Forrest and I teamed up because
Mhm.
then that we kind of established a friendship after Forrest
Yeah.
saved me, and that might have been
Yeah.
where your crush
Oh.
developed. But maybe I didn't see it
That
that
makes
way.
sense. That makes sense.
Or maybe I did. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, that's good. I'll say Forrest. We both pick Forrest at this point.
Cool. Then is it me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You once got caught doing something that shames your legacy with blank. This is tough. I feel like Bree seems like the answer because it's like you're like the delinquent kind of character.
Very much.
I like this. Like I feel like I'm not sure what that would be.
I don't know what's going on with Bree and Cynthia. I don't know how serious it is, but maybe I can pick up on the fact that you have a crush. And I was like, she loves like the flowers that you can get from the highest mountain. Let's fucking go up there and like we rampage some shit or something.
Are
to, like-
y'all
Cool.
are
I
y'all
mean, that-
wingmanning each other?
Listen, I think I'm
I kind of like that idea. That's funny. It's
I
like, hey,
think it's
whoever,
hilarious.
it's like
I was saying
Yeah.
I just manipulated them using that. I don't know.
Okay.
if
Like
it was
lied?
true.
Oh.
I mean, it might have been,
Yeah.
but I'm just like it wasn't.
I mean, I still like that
It's
idea.
You
like,
wrecked like a
Cool. Yeah,
sacred
with-
grove.
It's like when your little sibling was annoying you, so you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, how fast can you go upstairs, run around 3
Yes.
times? I'll count. Go!" Like,
You just close the door.
Do I have to
I like that.
read them in order? Well, I want to read them in order. Okay. I keep trying to impress blank with my antics. I mean, I do think that the obvious here would be Cynthia. However, I don't know how serious it is with us. What do you think?
I mean, I personally feel like it might have been just a moment. I don't know if it's very serious.
Yes, but if you weren't bothered by that, then I would definitely be trying to impress you. Like if
That's
you
fine.
don't care about it, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
I'm trying
I think
to-
that I just don't. I think that
And
maybe both
I
of
really
you are
want to
into me.
save Louis. I've got one for you. My second one, I'm like, it's Louis.
I think
what
I
we
just don't.
mentioned?
Yeah.
I just think I don't really have much time for that in my schedule, so maybe that's why I don't think about it as much. So
That's
maybe that's why I
fair,
don't like
yeah.
reciprocate it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Like
that's
I'm like
great.
too stressed to think about.
And I'm like, I
romantic
don't think about it at all,
relationships.
and I'm always thinking about it.
Yeah.
Can I also get a specific context? Because these relationship questions are really good for establishing things to draw upon. But what was the specific context where y'all kissed? Was it like after a concert? Was
I
it
don't
like
know.
some? Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's figure
Well,
it
okay,
out.
here's a very interesting thing is a mechanic in this is we have team moves that trigger after during specific conditions. One of those conditions being where are the team moves? When you have a triumphant celebration with someone, and then like each person has this. It's either when you have a triumphant celebration with someone or after you share a vulnerability with someone. So triumphant celebration, they say, has to be like a significant, like you say some words to someone, like you congratulate them on their ability to, like how well they did, or it could be like a celebratory hug or kiss, like after a big mission or a big like achievement or something like that. So I could
Yes.
see it being just
It was
like
we had a concert or something, like just a really good jam session, and afterwards I was like, you're so freaking good at the organ, and like we kissed, and then it was like, and then what about the next day you told me like, hey, don't worry about it, I know that like that meant nothing to you, it also meant nothing to me. Like it was just a moment, and I'm like, yeah, of course.
It could
that's
also
great.
be that combined with I just had the idea of like one of those boy genius things where they're always just
I
kind of
was
like making
just
out on
thinking
stage.
that.
Like,
If the
that could
crowd
have
was
been-
like, kiss, kiss, kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
it kind of like
yeah.
turned
Oh
into
my
that.
God, a
And maybe it was
duet?
And
like a
everyone
little-
was on stage together, so that's how you saw us.
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh
Oh yeah,
my
it wasn't
God.
like
Yeah.
it wasn't like a little subtle thing. It was oh shit.
And
Yeah.
I love
Everybody
the
saw.
idea that like, and with the I'm constantly trying to impress you with my antics. Like I showed up the next day with like the orange from the fancy grove, and you were like, you don't have to do all this. Like, don't worry about it. And I was like, that's so great to know. That's excellent. Yeah, I don't even care.
That's awesome.
Incredible.
Okay, should you also do your other one and then we just go back
we go
again?
backwards?
Or we
Fantastic.
could. I mean, we could go around. What do you guys think? Do you want to just jump back to
I
Louis?
think
Or
that's
Snake
great.
it. Send it.
Because
send
I
it.
have a Louis one,
Okay.
and
Okay.
Louis hasn't gotten one yet, right?
I started.
Yeah, what I meant is nobody
nobody-
has
yes,
built
yes,
a tie with you
facts.
yet. I have you and blank pulled an awesome, if illegal, stunt together. So I just like it, and I think this could be multiple of just any like the jumping over the volcano. I was playing my tunes to help you do that. Like I'm always just like, what are you up to today, Louis? Like you can jump so high. Let's go, like let's check it out. And so we sometimes like go off together and just like do dumb teenage shit.
Jackass
Yeah.
type stuff. And I like the idea that like Louis is a bit of a rule follower and gets anxious about that, and your serenade
Yeah.
is what kind of
I'm
like
when
lets
you
him
need
drop
to
his
cut
guard.
loose, baby, like let's go.
Oh,
Sweet.
all right.
Yeah, okay. So my second question is you trust blank and told them an important secret of your legacy. And I'm like I feel like I'm between Louis and Cynthia. I'm uncertain because I know
Well,
like
what's
you
the
know,
secret?
That's the question. What secret?
So I
it
would
be?
say figure out the secret and then pick who you felt comfortable sharing that with. If you want my 2 cents.
I mean, okay, if we talked about my character being like, Forrest, like they were bullied and all of these things, and then, homeschooled and has the whole thing with Sarah with like the old powers. What do you think?
Could it be related to the inciting incident when we discovered something messed up about the witch coven, and then like you kind of maybe shared a detail? I'm thinking like when I'm thinking like when your car was broken down, or like when you had the flat tire, And
Do you think about the AAA card?
And
And
I told
there.
I told
And you
Emma
showed
that
me-
You told
You
Emma
showed
about the
me-
AAA card and
Michael
didn't say
said,
anything
"Does
for hours.
anyone have AAA? We need it." And I look over, and you're pulling the AAA card out of your wallet, flash it at me, grimace a little bit, and then put it back in your pocket.
Okay, it's because I didn't know if you were allowed to use AAA on other people, and then I called my dad, and it turns out that you could.
3 hours later, after
Okay, because
sleeping in the
I thought it
car.
would be fast. Yeah. Anyway, like my thought is maybe it could be like someone was like, oh my god, what can we do to like this is crazy about the witches. Like how could we figure something out about this? And then you like confide in one of us, like I actually know this about this, but I don't know what this could mean. That's just an idea.
Or like you
'Cause
know their
you're
close
hideout
with
the
or
witches.
something.
Yeah, did you
Yeah.
overhear Sarah say something to another witch?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And then it's like,
Oh, no, I like that idea. I don't know if I'm like, oh, maybe like if Sarah is like evil, I feel like I don't know if like Sarah's necessarily like a bad person.
I wanna lean into the idea that you can trust Sarah, but it's a
yeah,
complicated relationship.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Like I don't want her to have like be like a bad
Which
person.
makes the
It's like there are
secret
some
more
secrets.
valuable,
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm not entirely sure what the secret is. Like I'll have to keep thinking about that. But like something about I don't know.
What if it's
something
the
witchy.
fact that they meet at a specific place?
Like a hideout, yeah.
Like witches keep
Yeah.
their secrets secret. Like we
'Cause
could
it-
investigate it? Question
Yeah.
mark.
And you know if
Yeah,
you
no,
told
I like
me
that idea.
that, I would be there immediately, and then I might wreck stuff, so you can't tell the whole team.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe who would I trust, Louis or Cynthia? Maybe I was like,
Can I pose something?
yeah.
Cynthia is very rules oriented, so if you told her something that broke a rule, could make her uncomfortable. But Louis is a savior.
Yeah, I'll
And if
say.
there's something
Yeah, let's say
wrong
Louis.
going on-
Yeah, because I think Louis and I were friends before. That was your question, right, Tori? The like, who were you? Like, who do you think is a cool person? Something like that. So I think there's like that thing where it's like, we have that like good like relationship, friendship, and I was just like, hey, like I know this stuff, like after we saved those people, we're able to seal the door with the help of Aiden. I was like, hey, I know this secret about the witches. So I like that idea. Yeah. So Louis.
I know that
I
there's a
trust Louis
secret
and-
hideout that the witches meet and convene in, but am sworn
Yep.
to secrecy.
Yep.
Okay, my other question, it's me, right? Yeah. My other relationship is your mentor is cautious. They asked you to keep an eye on blank. I think kind of this is probably Louis because
We're throwing them at you, Louis.
well, I don't know. I don't see
Louis
the
the
need to keep an
strongest.
eye on the others because I don't see them as like I kind of see Louis as the most heroic, like traditionally heroic, and also the most like you probably have. I feel like of all of us, you probably get along the most with Aiden, and I know that Drip probably hates Aiden. So like, I think that Drip would want me to keep an eye on you specifically.
Makes sense to me. My last question for Louis the Beacon is you've got to prove yourself to blank before you feel like a real hero. And I think I'll go for Bree just because you've got that I don't give a fuck, my powers are how I choose to use them. And so I want you to see that these powers can be used for the greater good and should be. And
And
if
that
I
would make sense, like why you keep coming along with me to these jackass moments.
True.
Like-
True. And I think and tell me if I'm wrong, but for you it's a little like funny kind of
I think it's funny. Like, I think that I am not that serious about the powers in general, but when
Yes.
it comes down to it, absolutely, I'm there. I want to help people. It's like, why wouldn't we try to jump over a volcano if you can literally do that? Like, that's sick.
got it.
Let's-
Boom.
Awesome. Cool. Sounds like we have our relationships. So I guess the final thing for us to do is kind of a beast that we haven't talked a little bit about, but it's not that complicated, but the concept of influence.
It's really funny.
So we each have individual influence stuff. Do you want me to talk about influence, or do you want to talk about influence?
You can talk about it. I love
Okay.
hearing you talk.
Each character is the influence is a mechanic in the game that is a direct representation of the not power, but like what people's words mean to you, like other people. So if somebody, it's a binary resource, so people can either have influence over you or they don't. By default, all adults have influence over us. There is a mechanic for resisting influence, so there's certain moves that adults or people will use on you. I say adults or people. Adults are like peers will try to use on you, where they use their influence to gain an advantage over you, and when they do that, you can roll to resist the influence, and that's a way that you can get rid of the influence. You can get rid of the influence through advancement. You can get rid of the influence through there's a couple ways to get rid of influence, but in terms of our relationships with other teens and with each other, influence is a little bit different, because you cannot have influence on someone.
And mechanically, we're about to go through giving away influence during part of this player creation. In game, anytime somebody says something to you that kind of would struck a chord, if that person already doesn't have influence on you, then you are completely free to say, okay, I think that person takes influence on me.
Cool.
That's
Yeah,
one thing.
you can give it to people.
And then how do you cash in influence?
Great question. Mechanically, it already at a base value gives you a +1 in any rolls interacting with that person.
Cool.
So let's say you want to comfort somebody that you have influence over. If you have influence over them, your words mean something to them. So definitely really good there. Another thing that you can do is called take advantage of influence. So whenever you take advantage of influence over somebody, you actually surrender that influence and then either give them a -2 on a roll they just made after the roll is made, you inflict a condition on them, or you take an additional +1 on a move targeting them.
That's so sad.
Other things to consider as well. If somebody would give you an influence in game when they otherwise have an influence over you, you actually take a condition, which we'll cover.
I think if we're going to us doing the influence, I should go first for simplicity's sake.
Sure, yeah. Each person has an individual criteria for what influence they're going to be giving away during character creation.
Which mine is, you care way more than you let on. Give 3 teammates influence over you, so you all have influence on me.
So normally what we would have is each of us would have physical tokens that are distinct, that represent our influence tokens, and we would literally hand it over to someone, but we're remote, so just keep track of who
we're on roll 20.
Oh, is that in roll 20?
Yeah, so I've made little colored tokens for y'all to just keep track. Yellow is the color for Bree, so if you look under your influence tab,
Bree has a lot of tokens.
You all have like a little
Everyone has influence on me.
That's pretty.
And it's not like I have one influence. It's like you have influence. We have
It's
3
binary.
influence.
Your words hurt, and they affect me.
That's fun. Just to what mine are is I choose a demeanor, playful or business. Which
I wonder.
I'm going to choose business. If I choose business, give influence to no teammates. So y'all have no influence.
We don't have
on me.
any influence on you?
Yeah, if I chose playful, I would give it to 2 of you, but I'm not choosing playful.
Wow.
Well, Louis is pretty straightforward. You are so excited to be here. Give influence over you to 3 of your teammates. So everybody
God.
also has a lot of influence over me.
How cute.
So far we've got Bree and Louis are influenced by everyone, and Cynthia is influenced by no one.
No one.
Nope.
Where do you...
And, well, to add on to this,
Yes?
with Forrest, you're a part of this team, for better or worse, and you care what they think. Give influence to all of your teammates.
That's
Wow.
so fun.
So funny.
I'm so like detached. Oh, that's so sad.
And everyone's in love with it.
Yeah, you gotta work all day.
Yeah,
Can't hang out with the band as much.
it's fitting.
Lovely.
And you play the keys, right?
Let me quickly check something. Ways to gain influence include but are not limited to, if you defend somebody, you roll plus savior. An added benefit that you could take as a part of that move is to take an influence over somebody you protect. Makes
Nice.
sense, right?
Yeah.
Another thing is one of the moves is called Pierce the Mask. When you roll a plus mundane on a success, you can literally ask the question, how could I gain influence over you?
Dang.
And a
And
lot of
then
these
you just act on that.
a lot of these mechanics can be used on both. I mean, all of them can be used on NPCs and PCs, but some of them I feel like are more geared toward PCs, like Comfort and Pierce the Mask. I feel like are very like bonding between the team kind of things.
Yes. And oftentimes what we'll encounter is you're a very low danger team. Let's say, out of character, oh my god, we are up against a really bad monster. Maybe there is some method of influencing somebody with your words to shift their labels. Because if you have influence over somebody, you can try to shift their labels.
Yeah, and we can kind of get into this during the gameplay portion. I feel like we've kind of captured a lot of the setup stuff. Unless there's any last things you want to put a button on this episode with.
That's the basics. There's still so much left to this game to be explored, but we can explore that actually playing the game.
Yeah, there's a
Like
lot of
I said, this
mechanics
is a
that I
brief-
feel like will come up while we're playing.
Awesome.
But other than that, how are we feeling?
Super duper dad.
Great. So we've made our characters and talked a little bit about the mechanics. So we're going to move into our play session. So we'll see you on a different side of the table.